Imagine you've spent decades building a life of comfort and security. Your retirement fund is stable, your home is paid off, and you finally have the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Then, the phone rings. It's someone you've known for years, maybe a distant relative, an old friend, or even a neighbor. They need your help, again. As we age, especially after 70, our compassion and desire to help others doesn't diminish, but our resources, energy, and recovery time certainly do. What many seniors don't realize is that they've become targets for a specific type of relationship that psychological experts like Dr. Harriet Lerner call emotional borrowing, where people systematically drain your resources without true reciprocity. Today, I'm going to reveal 7 critical warning signs that someone in your life is taking advantage of your generosity. These aren't just minor annoyances. They're serious red flags that, if ignored, can devastate your financial security, emotional well-being, and even family harmony during what should be your golden years. Pay close attention to sign number 7. It's the most insidious pattern I've encountered in my 30 years studying elder psychology. And sadly, it's often perpetrated by those claiming to care about you the most. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly who to stop helping before they run your life into the ground. Ever notice how some people in your life seem to lurch from one emergency to another? The constant crisis creator thrives on urgency and your willingness to drop everything when they call. Their lives are perpetual disaster zones, and somehow you're always the first responder. Watch for the timing of these emergencies. They mysteriously tend to happen when you've just settled in for the evening, planned an outing with friends, or right before an important appointment of your own. It's Friday night at 8 p.m., and suddenly they need an immediate ride across town or emergency funds for something that realistically could wait until Monday. The psychology behind this behavior is calculated. Crisis creators know that emergencies bypass normal boundaries. When someone presents a situation as urgent, your natural empathy kicks in before your rational mind can assess whether this truly requires immediate action. Psychologists call this urgency exploitation, using time pressure to short-circuit your decision-making process. Notice how these emergencies rarely have straightforward solutions. Helping once doesn't solve the underlying issue because there's always a next chapter to the crisis. The car you helped fix now needs new tires. The rent you covered is short again next month, but for totally different reasons. Most revealing is how they respond when you suggest preventative measures or long-term solutions. Their interest suddenly wanes. They're not looking for problem solving. They're seeking the emotional rush of rescue and the resource transfer that comes with it. As we age, our ability to handle these adrenaline-spiking emergencies diminishes, while our vulnerability to manipulation increases. Your peace of mind isn't a renewable resource at this stage of life. It's something to guard carefully against those who would disrupt it for their gain. These individuals accept your help with open hands but closed hearts. The gratitude ghoster has a remarkable ability to receive assistance, whether it's money, time, or emotional support, and then vanish completely until they need something again. Notice how their communication follows a predictable pattern. There's the warm-up, checking how you're doing, reminiscing about old times. The ask, presented as temporary and sometimes disguised as seeking advice. And then the rapid disappearance once help is secured. Days or weeks later, the cycle repeats as if nothing unusual happened in between. The psychological mechanism at work here is what researchers call a reciprocity imbalance. Healthy relationships involve mutual give and take, but gratitude ghosters operate on a one-way street. They've developed an entitlement mentality that views your resources as an extension of their own, available whenever needed without the social obligation of appreciation or return. Watch for how they respond when you mention their last request. There's often a subtle rewriting of history. I would have paid you back sooner, but I thought you said it was a gift. Or, I didn't realize you needed me to acknowledge that favor. This deliberate misremembering serves to gaslight you into questioning whether you're being unreasonable for expecting basic gratitude. The most telling sign is how these interactions make you feel. After helping a gratitude ghoster, you're left with an emotional vacuum, a sense that something is unfinished or unacknowledged. This feeling isn't just in your head, it's your emotional intelligence alerting you to a relationship that's fundamentally unbalanced. For seniors, these relationships become particularly dangerous. Your lifetime of accumulated wisdom and resources makes you valuable to these individuals, but your increasing need for reliable support networks makes their disappearing act all the more harmful to your well-being. These people treat your personal boundaries like suggestions rather than firm limits. The boundary bulldozer has an uncanny ability to push past your comfort zones, often under the guise of being helpful or concerned about your welfare. Pay attention to how they react when you say no. While most people accept refusal gracefully, boundary bulldozers launch countermeasures, persistent questioning, guilt trips, or emotional manipulation. "I'm just trying to help" becomes their shield against your reasonable limits. They might show up unannounced at your home because "I was in the neighborhood." Call repeatedly, despite being told you need rest, or make decisions about your life without consulting you. The psychology behind this behavior reveals a need for control. By systematically ignoring your stated boundaries, they're establishing dominance in the relationship. Psychological research shows that boundary violations rarely happen in isolation. They escalate gradually, testing how much you'll tolerate. Today, they're rearranging your kitchen without permission. Tomorrow, they're making medical decisions you never approved. Notice how these intrusions often come packaged as care or concern. "I'm worried about you living alone" becomes the justification for daily intrusive check-ins. "You shouldn't have to deal with these complicated finances" becomes the reason they need access to your accounts. This false benevolence makes it harder to object without seeming ungrateful. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous for seniors is how it can masquerade as necessary support. As our independence naturally faces more challenges with age, the line between helpful assistance and controlling behavior blurs. The crucial difference lies in respect. Helpful people work within your boundaries, while bulldozers dismiss them entirely. Watch for the emotional aftermath of these interactions. Feeling pressured, cornered, or exhausted from defending basic personal choices. These feelings aren't signs of your unreasonableness. They're your internal alarm system detecting someone who doesn't respect your autonomy. These individuals leave you feeling mysteriously depleted after every interaction. The resource vampire has refined the art of extracting maximum value, whether emotional, financial, physical, or temporal, while contributing minimal resources of their own. Watch for the subtle energy shift during your encounters. Conversations center predominantly on their needs, problems, and situations. They arrive brimming with demands, but oddly empty of offerings. That $50 they borrowed 3 months ago remains unmentioned. The 3 hours you spent helping them move hasn't translated into 10 minutes of assistance when you needed a ride to a doctor's appointment. The psychological framework operating here is what experts call a zero-sum mentality. Resource vampires fundamentally believe that relationships are transactional competitions. If you gain, they lose. This drives them to maximize extraction from every interaction. They don't see relationships as mutually beneficial partnerships, but as resources to be mined. Notice how these people strategically target what you have in abundance. If you're financially comfortable but lonely, they offer companionship that mysteriously requires financial assistance. If you're physically active but on a fixed income, they need physical help with endless projects, but are mysteriously unavailable when you need similar aid. The most revealing indicator is how you feel after they leave. That bone-deep exhaustion isn't just physical tiredness. It's your subconscious recognizing a significant energy imbalance. Healthy interactions leave both parties feeling enriched, or at least balanced. Resource vampires leave only depletion in their wake. For seniors, this pattern becomes increasingly dangerous as your energy reserves naturally diminish with age. Recovery from these draining encounters takes longer, while the cumulative effect of resource depletion accelerates. The retirement resources you've carefully accumulated, time, money, emotional well-being, are precisely what makes you an attractive target for these individuals. These people have a peculiar blindness when it comes to acknowledging your achievements, needs, or contributions. The praise withholder creates a one-sided relationship where your acknowledgement of them flows freely, but recognition of you is mysteriously absent. Pay attention to conversational patterns when you share good news or accomplishments. You might mention a volunteer award, a health improvement, or even something simple like reorganizing your home. Instead of celebration, you're met with topic changes, minimization, or even subtle criticism. That's nice, but did you hear about what happened to me? Or, well, I suppose that's good for someone your age. The psychological mechanism at work is a subtle form of dominance maintenance. By denying validation, they ensure the relationship's emotional economy remains imbalanced in their favor. Psychologists recognize this as a control tactic. Withholding emotional nourishment creates a subtle hunger that keeps you working harder for their approval, which never quite arrives. Notice how selectively this praise blindness operates. They're remarkably attentive when you provide something they need: your time, resources, or attention. The acknowledgement drought only appears when the spotlight should be on your needs or accomplishments. This selective awareness isn't accidental. It's a calculated relationship strategy. Watch for how they respond when others praise you in their presence. The discomfort is often visible. Quick interruptions, subject changes, or body language that signals impatience. Their need to be the relationship's primary recipient of attention makes your recognition actively threatening. For seniors, this dynamic is particularly harmful. After a lifetime of contribution, the natural human need for recognition and appreciation doesn't diminish. If anything, acknowledgement becomes more vital as other forms of validation. Career accomplishments, parenting milestones, evolve or conclude. Being continuously denied this basic emotional nourishment doesn't just feel bad. It fundamentally impacts mental health and self-worth at a crucial life stage. These individuals subtly but systematically separate you from your support network, creating a dangerous dependency that serves their interests. The isolation engineer works gradually, making it difficult to recognize their strategy until you're already significantly cut off from others. Notice how they plant seeds of doubt about people you trust. Did you notice how your daughter seemed distracted when she visited? I wonder if she's really interested in spending time with you. These comments start as occasional observations but steadily increase, creating friction between you and your most reliable supporters. The psychology behind this behavior is strategic and calculated. By positioning themselves as your primary or sole support person, they gain extraordinary influence and access to your resources. Research in elder psychology shows that isolated seniors are significantly more vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation, making this tactic particularly effective. Watch for how they create practical barriers between you and others. They might helpfully answer your phone, screen visitors, or manage your calendar in ways that reduce outside contact. Your book club meeting gets mysteriously rescheduled. Friends report calling when the isolation engineer said no one phoned. Family visits are subtly discouraged through complaints about how disruptive they are to your routine. Most revealing is their reaction when you initiate independent social connections. While they encourage your dependency on them, they discourage self-directed relationships. Your mention of a new friend or reconnecting with an old one is met with suspicious questions or concerns about these people's true motives for spending time with you. For seniors, this isolation creates a dangerous spiral. As your social circle artificially shrinks, you become more dependent on the very person engineering your isolation. Your ability to reality check concerning behaviors diminishes without trusted outside perspectives. What begins as influence evolves into control, with fewer and fewer people noticing or intervening as the isolation deepens. Pay careful attention to changes in your social patterns since this person entered your life. The slow erosion of connections isn't age-related decline. It's the deliberate work of someone constructing a relationship where they hold all the power. These individuals display an unnerving interest in your assets, estate plans, and financial decisions. The inheritance hunter has their eyes fixed not on who you are, but what you have and what they might eventually claim. Watch for the subtle shift in attention whenever financial matters arise. Casual conversations suddenly become intensely focused when you mention your home, investments, or valuables. They ask detailed questions about your will, trust arrangements, or insurance policies, information most people consider deeply private. Their concern about your financial well-being often comes with convenient solutions that mysteriously benefit them. The psychology at play is long-term manipulation. Unlike scammers seeking immediate payoffs, inheritance hunters invest time cultivating relationships specifically designed to position themselves advantageously in your estate plans. Researchers who study elder financial exploitation note that these relationships often intensify as the senior's health declines, not from genuine concern, but because the perceived payoff is approaching. Notice how they create subtle wedges between you and your natural heirs or beneficiaries. They might question your children's financial responsibility or suggest that other relatives only call when they want something. This systematic undermining serves to redirect your assets toward them while appearing to protect your interests. The most revealing sign is how they react to financial boundaries. Healthy relationships respect your right to private financial decisions. Inheritance hunters respond to financial limits with disproportionate emotion, becoming cold, wounded, or even angry when denied access to your resources or information about your estate plans. For seniors, this pattern is particularly dangerous because it exploits your natural desire to be remembered and to have your life's work meaningfully distributed. The inheritance hunter manipulates these legitimate end-of-life concerns, transforming what should be carefully considered personal decisions into influenced outcomes that serve their interests. Pay special attention to anyone whose relationship warmth correlates directly with financial discussions, or who shows excessive interest in how you plan to distribute your assets. The genuine people in your life value you for who you are, not what you have or what they might eventually receive. These 7 toxic relationship patterns, crisis creators, gratitude ghosters, boundary bulldozers, resource vampires, praise withholders, isolation engineers, and inheritance hunters, share one common thread. They systematically drain your resources while providing little in return. Recognizing them isn't just about protecting your assets, it's about preserving your dignity, independence, and peace of mind during what should be your golden years. The most powerful tool in your defense isn't suspicion, but awareness. Trust your emotional responses. That uneasy feeling after certain interactions isn't paranoia or age-related worry. It's your lifetime of relationship wisdom recognizing patterns that deserve attention. Your experience has given you an emotional intelligence that can cut through manipulation when you trust it. Begin taking protective action today. Start with one simple step. The 24-hour rule. When anyone asks for help that involves your time, money, or energy, give yourself permission to take 24 hours before responding. This pause creates space for your wisdom to evaluate the request without pressure. Real emergencies have solutions beyond just you, and genuine relationships respect your need for boundaries. If this video resonated with you, you're not alone. Thousands of seniors face these challenges daily, often silently. Subscribe to this channel for more guidance on navigating relationships during this important life stage. Next week, I'll share specific scripts for setting boundaries with difficult people without triggering conflict or guilt. Remember, choosing who deserves your help isn't selfish. It's necessary. Your compassion is valuable, and at this stage of life, it should be invested wisely in those who truly honor the remarkable person you've become over 7 decades of living.